Very good morning, distinguished guests, dear speakers. Yeah, it's a big responsibility to make this session interactive and really attractive after the break and after such great introductions and also discussion that Mahesh led. So what we are going to talk on the next 30 minutes will address 6 main points and conclusions that we got this year in our third Emiratisation guide. All of them are very, very interesting, future-looking. Some of them are, as I call, provocative positive, and I will try to make it also with our panelists as much interested as possible. And I would start, and you already got the introduction, so we have Khalid, Ibtisam, Uruj, and also we have, sorry, Amdan from Etisalat. We'll talk a first topic, which is always very controversial, which is salary expectations versus market reality. Is there a gap or it's aligned with market expectations? I start, before I introduce some numbers of the guide of this year, with a sentence that I always share with my teams and in the organizations I've been through along the last 25 years, which is salary increase makes us happy once per year, and healthy workplace keeps us happy throughout the year. Saying that, 74% of the UAE nationals that we spoke with, being employees, they said they are dissatisfied with their current salary. Second note, they expect at least 10% salary increase during the year 2025, knowing as a reference that the GDP last year for the country was 3.8, just as a small comparison, which is important. And as a third note, from the employer offering, many employers, 55%, who are offering salaries between 4,000 dirhams and 10,000 dirhams, are expecting that this part of the market will increase compared with last year on the job offer by 52%. So saying that, my first question is to you, Uruj. How is Citigroup dealing with this reality?
Thank you, Pedro. Hi, everyone. It's great to be here. Absolutely, it's a very interesting topic, and I must say that when it comes to salary expectations and market realities, I believe the focus should not be on whether there is a gap, but rather on how organizations are approaching compensation as a part of a broader employee value proposition. At Citi, our compensation philosophy is based on 3 main factors, which are market competitiveness, internal equity, and strong link to performance. And we also conduct regular market reviews, conduct a competitive analysis to ensure that we are aligned with the industry practices and the standards as well. But more importantly, I believe what we actually look at, we want to ensure that our employees are aware how compensation decisions are made and how our Emiratis can see themselves grow in the organization. And I believe this is the most important factor. While salary, definitely, and certainly it's a most important factor, but it's not the only one. And in many cases, salary or compensation is not the primary driver when it comes to engagement and retention. What's important is that our Emiratis are able to see the overall picture. What are the opportunities available when it comes to career growth? Can they see an inclusive environment? Can they see inclusive culture? A sense of belonging in the organization? And that's what I believe is more important than anything else. So when it comes to organization, I believe the goal should be looking at the holistic picture, looking at what sort of opportunity is going to be there. Yes, compensation needs to be linked with the performance. However, it should resonate the EVP of Emiratis, and that's what's very important, and that's where you will see the lasting impact.
Thank you, Ruj. I fully agree with you. I think it's interesting to compare what Citi is doing and what you just shared with us with these conclusions. And I think here also private sector, also the numbers say that, is moving forward the way retention and career development is being worked, and particularly what are the initiatives, some of them very interesting, and we will listen to them. And Amdan is shaking the head because Etisalat is really a great company on that field that really create real retention plans for the UAE nationals, and of course also for the rest of the company. But here it's specifically about the Emiratisation and how we are managing it. Khalid, from PwC perspective, and you have a tremendous strategic operational role in the company, do you see that the salary mismatch is really a reality as employees are stating? Or do you think it's only a trend, a short-term trend, or it's part of a generation we're saying this?
Thank you, Pedro. Is it clear?
Yes.
Thank you. And I think on behalf of the panelists, I wanted to start by saying thank you for this opportunity. It's indeed a pleasure to be here, to be talking about a very critical topic, nationalization, which for us is not only a policy and compliance agenda, but it's a societal obligation and it's a commitment to our country. Maybe to start a little bit, talking a little bit about our PwC Emiratisation program, we've launched Watani over 10 years ago, and the intention at the time was to really develop the next generation of leaders, and this was our commitment to the firm. And because my role essentially involves two things. I look after Emiratisation as in the firm, but most importantly, I also support a lot of clients across industry sectors deliver nationalization strategies. So I kind of have both perspectives. And I'd like to say that the disconnect with regards to salary could stem from three things. One, market misalignment. There is a tendency for employers to have outdated compensation structures that do not reflect market realities and the competitive landscape. The second point is the communication gap. We do see a tendency for employers to focus purely on the compensation aspect without looking at the total employment value proposition, things around career development, progression, learning, and what have you. And third, which I think is extremely crucial, and this is a problem that we're seeing quite a lot in the context of employers, is there is a tendency to adopt a one-size-fits-all compensation structure that does not take into the requirements and needs of the different workforce segments. So if you were to ask me what are the three strategies that need to be adopted to solve this, I would say employers should benchmark pay practices regularly. Two, employers should focus on providing a view of the overall employment value proposition as opposed to purely compensation. And finally, based on what we're seeing in terms of trends with regards to Gen Zs now entering the workforce, it's important to personalize compensation because different workforce segments have different needs, and that needs to be communicated. So to us, salary alone is not going to solve the puzzle. It's the employment value proposition, one that reflects purpose, development, and career progression.
Thank you. Yeah, very, very clear also from the perspective that it's a whole combination between salary, emotional salary, career retention, career development. And that's really also part of the conclusions, and we will get that later on, that the guide is touching. Moving into the point number 2, skills alignment versus role creation. And I would like to start with you, Ibtisam. Our guide mentioned that job seekers possess and value communication at 70.7%, leadership at 51.6%, and IT and digital skills at 45.8%. This is a clear trend growing year on year since we start to work on the guidebook, 22, 23, 24, and now 25. Saying that, when we go for the hiring priorities from the market, operations is the most requested, 46.1%, HR administration 45.6, and top hiring areas, also on tech roles, are mentioned here with 28%. What changed in the last 2 years that really shows that the skills alignment and the role creation is really making the gap shorter? Because we can see it, huh? But what is the country doing for that based, and you have public and private sector experience, so if you please can share it with us.
Thank you very much, Pedro, and the rest of the panel here. I think this is a very interesting part of the conversation. Skills match is one of the challenges that we're facing for a long time in the industry, where by the time academia is churning out the competent Emiratis or employees per se, the technology has advanced tenfold, and playing catch-up has been a challenge. So I think in the last 2 years, we've been seeing a match in the expectations from the job seekers and the employers kind of close a little bit in terms of they're all looking for good leadership. It's important to both. Excellent communication and technology, as we said. Now, with technology, we see that AI has sped up things. People are able to have access to information in a click of a button. The growth of the skills capability and allowing the closure of that gap to happen is realistically coming to a distinct point where we can leverage on the learning and allow the young people to come into the market better prepared. So I think, yes, there is still a bit of a gap, and it will continue to be there as long as technology is advancing at the pace it's been advancing. But there's also something to gain from that speed of development that we can play catch up. Now, that becomes a role of us as employers to really invest in our talent once they come on board. And this is part of the package. You're speaking about compensation from the perspective of cash, but I think a lot of other benefits in the learning, in the career path, having distinct, clear growth patterns for the Emiratis, this will really help in leveraging this or closing this gap better.
Thank you, Ibtisam. I take that part of the statement of Ibtisam Hamdan. Your company is a pioneer taking initiatives, such, for example, the AI Center, which is now very famous on the community. Yeah? Can you share with us what are you doing as best practices to mitigate these gaps?
For sure, yeah. So just to kind of piggyback as to what Ibtisam mentioned, so yeah, I do believe that there is still a gap when it comes to skills, but I believe in order to bridge that gap, there's going to be a lot of introduction to new technology, and AI being one of them as well. So like you mentioned, and I don't mean to promote Ian, but I will.
I did it.
Yeah. So we do have a very fantastic AI graduate academy as well. So I think as one of the largest and one of the oldest organizations that's built on the foundation of Emiratis, I think we have an obligation to kind of introduce these new skills to the youth and to the graduates as well. So I think with AI being kind of like the big trend nowadays, we do have an AI graduate program. We also have our internal AI academy as well, in order to kind of like empower existing employees with the kind of right skills and whatnot. And we do have a lot of things that are in the works as well, in particular to AI, which I can't reveal at the moment, but do expect some big things coming from EAND, I would say.
And also, I would connect with another point, and I enter now on my third point, which is NAFIS versus digital recruitment. Amal mentioned it also as a key priority now under the program. You are a tremendous user of NAFIS, and probably one of the biggest one in the countries. NAFIS is ending in 2026. Are you discussing this strategically? I'm saying NAFIS version 1.0. Yeah. I think Amal is smiling. Probably there is a version 2.0 coming. We all hope so. How are you facing this, the digital trends versus NAFIS? Because when you look in practice, the amount of impact positively that NAFIS creates to the country, all of us agree it is a tremendous success. How do you look forward after 2026?
So I mean, there is a lot of like strategies and talks, obviously, at the moment in terms of like how to move forward from 2026, I would say. But like you mentioned, NAFIS has been a very tremendous kind of partner to us. We do have, we have utilized it quite a lot, I would say, and we do have a lot of employees that have been brought under the NAFIS program. And internally, I would say we've kind of like created a lot of like these talent development sessions and programs as well for them in order to kind of like grow within their respective roles. And maybe move internally within different positions along the company, because we do have a lot of different departments and it's a huge organization. So again, it's just kind of like adding up to all of like, empowering them with the proper skills and tools in order for them to kind of like, excel and grow within E&. But in terms of like 2026, we do have kind of like, we are kind of like in the works, I would say, in terms of like how to move forward from that. But again, we are a technology company. So I would say everything would eventually kind of like add up to kind of like the tech aspect to it. At some point.
Thank you, very interesting. Ibtisam, job seekers, 55.9% use NAFIS to look for a job. It's the highest, the biggest platform in the market they use to match for a potential job. Also, for employers, NAFIS remains the most preferred platform. 58% of the companies looking for Emiratis use NAFIS. However, we see a growing trend in the usage of other job platforms. LinkedIn is one of them. Job seekers at different levels also do it. Where do you see the market will go related to this?
So, first of all, I have to thank NAFIS and the efforts they've made, because honestly, it's been a tremendous change. I come from an era where finding the right match for an Emirati to the job demand market was very difficult. We didn't know where to start. So we depended on social media or references by mouth, and then sometimes just these campaigns we have with the like Tawdif and the like. Those career fairs, but still we were not able to access as many and capable Emiratis like NAFIS has provided the platform for. So with this particular platform, we're seeing a whole lot more of accessibility to the job seekers market. In terms of where is it going in the future, I think I've seen also an improved or increased trend of looking into the social media for like LinkedIn, for sourcing of talent. This is becoming more and more increasingly relied on source. I don't know if I can say this, but I feel the previous dependency on specifically recruitment agency alone has shifted, and even the nature of the recruitment agency's role for us has changed as business. We're no longer looking for them to identify individuals to fulfill our particular roles. Now we're more dependent on solution-oriented, recruitment solutions. So I think these new platforms will continue to sustain going forward and grow. I actually think it's something that many companies will continue to utilize. LinkedIn, word of referral, and of course the new NAFIS platform. It'll continue to grow.
Indeed, the market is really changing in the recruitment industry from the traditional manpower supply to really management services. And that links with my fourth question, which is the AI readiness of the market versus the need of upskilling. Mahesh mentioned it on his discussion that 52% of the job seekers, they have knowledge in AI, and 53.6% of employees have basic knowledge of AI. I think we all agree that AI is going to be a must on all job profiles and all job descriptions, probably on all skilled workforce for sure, and even the non-skilled workforce will have AI incorporated. So saying that, what and where should be, and the question is to you, Khaled, the key investments for companies on the upskilling immediately on the short term?
Thank you for the question. Look, there's no doubt that AI is transforming the workplace. And we've seen that a lot of companies in the Middle East are investing significantly, and they view AI as a catalyst for growth, innovation, excellence. Now, I completely agree on that the demand for AI skills is increasing significantly. I mean, we've launched last year our AI Jobs Barometer. This is a publication that looks at 500 million job ads to examine the impact of AI on jobs. And what was interesting was the skills related to AI are increasing across all jobs and sectors. And beyond that, the sectors that are most exposed to AI experience 5 times higher growth in labor productivity. So what that is suggesting is AI is here to stay. We have to embrace it. And beyond that, my perspective is AI is not basically going to end our work. It's a new way of working, basically. And there are 4 strategies that we typically advise our clients to address the AI upskilling agenda. One will be on the collaboration front. There needs to be further alliances forged between government, academia, and businesses to curate and develop upskilling programs related to AI. Second, from an institutional perspective, there needs to be AI embedded in the learning and development agenda for employees, be it on the certification front and what have you. Third is inclusion, and a phenomenal example of this inclusion is how they've recently introduced AI in public schools, which is a phenomenal and provides access to all.
True.
And finally, and I think it's extremely important, AI impacts sectors differently. So the customization aspect and creation of use cases for AI will be extremely, extremely crucial. And I think all of these 4 strategies will help us build and enable the next generation of Emirati workforce.
Oh, amazing, amazing sharings. Uruj, from the Citigroup is a worldwide planet, I would say, in the banking system. How are you facing this? Because it's very challenging to train so many people, not only locally, regionally, but also globally. What is the strategy? But also focusing particularly on and specifically on the Emiratisation side.
So what we do, we talk about always skills of the future. And that's what's important. I think when it comes to skills of the future, you would need to start looking at what are the aspirations of the Emiratis and how we can upskill them. We have talked about AI, and we have recently heard that AI is going to be now the mandatory course in the schools as well, because you're getting everyone prepared from the onset. And exactly the same way, we have to get the Emiratis, our employees, ready for the future skill set. And to get them ready, it's important that you are giving them opportunities. You are putting all sort of a structured plans in place to make sure that they are growing. At the same time, you're giving them some sort of a structured plans in place, which are specifically related to Emiratisation. And that's exactly what Citi is doing as well. We have our AI hub, which is focused on it. I mean, from a global bank's perspective, obviously we need to look at from risk and controls perspective as well, that what are the risk and controls that needs to be put in place. However, we are getting our employees prepared. It is the change that happens at not only at an employee's level, but also to make sure that managers are aware of it, that they need to upskill those Emiratis as well as employees. Because in the world of transformation, that's the changes which are happening at the moment, and we are all aware of it. Some of the roles might be obsolete in the future. So how are you going to get them prepared? That's where we actually, from a Citi's perspective, ensure that our managers are preparing our Emiratis and overall employees as well for the future skill set.
Thank you. Hamdan, anything to add from your side? I cannot resist, because then you will charge me if I don't give you the word on this particular question.
No, I mean, I completely agree as to what Uruj and Khaled mentioned as well. I think it's unavoidable. I think it is the future. I think even at this point, even today, I mean, it is basically integrated into everything that we use, right? Even in terms of like LinkedIn recruitment, in terms of Microsoft Teams, it's integrated into our kind of like our everyday, tools in order to help us either find Emiratis or help us within our everyday kind of job. So yeah, I do believe it is the future, and I think eventually everyone is going to be equipped with the proper skills and knowledge in order to kind of like use it. And I think just to kind of like steal one of the slogans from PwC, I think it is very kind of like tech-powered, but it is human-enabled, right? So it's human-driven at the end of the day. But yeah, it is unavoidable, and I believe it is the future in terms of like everything that we do.
Thank you. We are entering now the final 2 points. The fifth one is retention and target hiring trends. Interesting to see some numbers. 52% of employers report some difficulty in retaining UAE nationals, some difficulty. 25% reporting highly challenging difficulties. And 22% clearly say no difficulties, and this number last year was 42. So from 42 reduced to 22%. Huruj, how shall we read this?
So when it comes to targeted hiring, we need to be aware of it. It helps you achieve your short-term goals, whereas retention is the main driver when it comes to long-term success. I mean, you can hire the best talent available in the market, but if you're not investing in terms of their development, their growth, there's always a risk of losing that talent. And when it comes to Emiratis, we know that there's such a strong Emirati population available. So it's important that you are retaining them. Now, I firmly believe that retention cannot be considered as a standalone initiative. It needs to be embedded with how we hire, develop, and retain our Emiratis. Now, if I talk about Citi, we have 3 main pillars, and exactly as the same approach that I've mentioned earlier, which is on hiring, development, and retention. And obviously, retention and development, that goes hand in hand. So I'll come to the programs that we offer, but we are also aware of it that with NAFIS going to phase out in 2026, how and what organizations can do to retain the talent. And I think what they need to look at, they need to move towards a sustainable programs available, which is specifically focused on, and these are targeted programs for Emiratis. I'll talk about, which is important, obviously, because Citi is one of the most global banks. We have the global mobility option available for our UAE nationals. And obviously for all the employees. We have UAE nationals who are currently working and have worked in the past outside UAE. Now, we also understand this might not be a priority for all of the UAE nationals. So what we do, we go back and look at it, what sort of other options and aspirations that other Emiratis have that we can support them in terms of their retention. And that's where we often offer the local opportunities which are available. And that we also have a targeted program which are related to job sharing. We have options available of job rotations. We have options available which are international job rotations as a part of our global analyst program or even our local analyst program as well. So these options are available, but at the same time, there has to be a link of your development and advancement through succession planning. So it's a whole structure and a structured way we need to look at it, that how retention can be achieved and it can be long-lasting and impactful. Retention can also be seen with how an employee is recognized and how they are valued in the organization and how Emiratis are being valued in the organization, because you need to create that inclusive environment. And that inclusive environment would help you not only building the jobs, but you're also building the future. And hence the reason I genuinely feel retention is the most important part of when you're hiring, you're developing your Emiratis.
Thank you. I'm very interested to know more from you, and we can do it after the session, on this expat Emirati program that you have outside of UAE. That's something very interesting also to understand. Thanks for sharing. Khalid, still on this point, I have two numbers from the guide that I really need your input. Employee mobility intent. 53% plan to change jobs within the next 6 months. Last year, the number was 48%. This year is 53%. Is it because the market is much more dynamic, or is it because companies are not capable to retain?
That's a fantastic question, but maybe before I start, I noticed Uruj and Hamdan have been talking a lot about and Citibank. Just wanted to let you know PwC and Department of Government Enablement are employers of choice as well, and we offer, if not more, more comprehensive programs.
The audience appreciate it, huh?
Look, to answer your question, we also conduct our own surveys, and I've reviewed the details of the survey. It's very clear that the Emirati population, be it on the job seekers front or actually Emiratis employed in the private sector, believe that compensation is important, career growth is important, job content is important, but we're also noticing recently that proximity to the workplace is also important. One of the things that we wanted to do is how do we start attracting populations that are considered in areas that are outside the cities. So we established, for example, in Al Ain, the Assurance Delivery Center, which is basically now fully employed by female Emiratis. And it was very important for us to start shaping our nationalization program also based on what we're hearing. Look, the key message that maybe I want to highlight as part of this is true sustainable nationalization happens when us as employers in the private sectors stop asking ourselves how many have we filled and start asking ourselves how far have they progressed. And I think nationalization strategies for all employers in the private sector need to start focusing on the retention riddle. And that's what we will be working on as part of our 2.0 nationalization strategy in line with the NAFIS 2026, hopefully, new strategy.
Thank you. Thank you. It's really, really very strategic, country-driven, what all of you have been sharing so far. And I connect that with my last point, which is purpose and flexibility. From UAE perspective on the job market, 71.9% of employed Emiratis are seeking roles with better purpose. Second note, employer offerings, 55.5% are now offering remote or hybrid policies to attract and retain talent, but also close to the residence where UAE nationals live. Ibtisam, we start with you. These two key emotional salary effects or actions, are they key in your view to really make purpose retention, purpose development happen?
Absolutely. So we're first of all catering to a generation that is coming in with a very clear set of what they expect from the work environment. The current population coming into the work are looking to have a proper work-life balance, less work-life integration, which is what we are used to in our generation. We integrated work and with our personal lives completely. If I look at my children at home and the expectations they have towards work, it's not about clocking in, clocking out, it's going in, making a meaningful impact within a given time, and then taking the rest of that time to do other things that are still meaningful to them. So I've heard this over, not only with my children, but with their friends, and I do try and hold conversations with the young people on a very personal level. And definitely these things resonate with them. It matters the proximity they have to travel for work. It matters what they do at work. I would like to say this, in my view, the opening up or the partnership between the public sector and the private sector and opening of opportunities in different areas of business has changed perception. Earlier we had Mr. Nasser Al-Blushi talk to us about the sector he's working in. And I would think maybe 10 years back, if you told a UAE national you're going to be working in a commercial sales department of a company like Shaloub, sorry, I pronounced it wrong. Shaloub, they would be probably thinking, no, not for me. But today, there is actually people who have a passion to be there. They love selling those products. They associate themselves with it. I've seen young Emiratis come out of universities and go into conservation work. Who here knows about the fund called Hubara Fund, for instance? And we have young Emiratis now going and working in Hubara Fund. Why? They're passionate about conservation. It's where the love and passion is. And when you see that, it's not the work of the past. This is work of the future. This is what we've opened up our children to. So definitely proximity, passion, that drives, I would say, almost 40% of what they're looking for. 60% is a compensation. But if they're getting that gratification and satisfaction that they're doing and serving their purpose, I think we got them. So opening up this has been a great opportunity for all, I think.
Thank you. Uruj, from your side, anything you would like to add on this point of purpose and flexibility in the workplace?
I would say, so we have seen in the recent years that how the trend has changed and flexibility has become very important. And when it could be flexibility of working hours, location, or flexibility more related to managing your personal and professional priorities. So, and I think it is just not a perception. Employees are actually making decisions based on that, which are their career decisions. So at Citi, we have an approach which is called How We Work. And in How We Work, we actually give the flexibility to our employees, and we have remote roles as well as we have hybrid positions available as well, which is specifically allows individual to go and have that flexibility to manage their personal and the professional life. It is based on the belief that flexibility leads to better performance. And we have seen that. We have seen that in COVID. We have seen that post-COVID as well. And that's exactly what we are trying to do. We are trying to have that flexibility in place for our employees so that they can continue to manage that. Now, we have also seen very recently that some of our competitors have gone back to 5 days model. But Citi wants to continue with balanced approach in terms of having that sort of a flexibility for our employees. And this also helps us in helping them managing their own personal life as well. Now, I also think in 2026 or post-2026, this is potentially going to be the key differentiator. So employers need to continue to have that flexibility when it comes to hybrid working, remote working in place, so that you are continuously going to attract the best talent available, and that is going to be the main differentiator for all of the organizations.
Thank you. Dear audience, distinguished speakers, thank you. I think it was a great session, great examples, great contribution, and really happy to have you here in our event. Once again, thank you.